Well, hello, and yes, I've gone and bought a new camera, which means I have five Olympus cameras now. But disclaimer, before we go anywhere else, before we even start this video, no, this is not a, oh, look at me, aren't I wonderful, I've got 5 cameras. And it's not, oh, I want to take pictures like Craig, so I must have to have 5 cameras now. I've got to buy all these cameras. No, not at all. That's not what this is about. So please, no comments in the section below about that. That's not what this is about, including you. Stop it. I can see you. Stop it. Stop typing. Oh, look at, oh, fancy pants for all these cameras. Stop it. That's not what this is about. I will explain why I've got a new camera, why I needed a new camera, and what I use all my different cameras for, because a lot of you have been asking that very question. So let's get into this video. So, can you guess what this new camera is? Is it perhaps the new Olympus EM5 Mark III? Well, no, it isn't actually. It's this. It's another Pen F, but this one's silver. So now I have 5 cameras. I've got the EM1 Mark I, the EM1 Mark II, the EP5, and these 2 Pen Fs now. So, as you probably would have seen, I bought a Pen F a year or 2 back. I bought a black one, you can see here. I bought this one second hand, and I made a video about it, and I went to Leeds and I showed me shooting with this for the first time. So I love this camera, I love the look of it, I love the feel of it, I love shooting with it. So I've really enjoyed using this camera. It's a great camera for urban photography. So that one I actually bought second hand, but this one I actually bought brand new. But I bought it from one of those shops. You know those shops? Not the black shops, not the white shops. You know, the shade in between? Yeah, I bought it from one of those shops. I know, I'm a bad person, but it saved me a lot of money. But before I tell you why I bought that camera, let's just go through some of the cameras that I do have. So I have the Olympus EM1 Mark I. This was my upgrade from my original EM5. This is the one that died in Berlin. You know, it conked out in Berlin, but I got it fixed by Olympus. It was the shutter mechanism, so I had it repaired because I wasn't quite ready to give it up as a camera. So I got it repaired and it's all working again, but ironically I haven't used it since that trip. But my main landscape camera now is the EM1 Mark II, and I love this camera. Well, apart from the flip out screen, as you probably know, I've mentioned about the flip out screen. I'm not keen on those on the Olympus cameras, but I'm kind of getting used to it on this camera. So I've got an L bracket that accommodates the LCD screen when you flip it out. It's got a little cutout there, and that works well. It's an alternative to having a flip up screen, which the EM1 Mark I had. But the only thing I found that when you have the screen out, it doesn't always switch over from viewfinder to LCD screen and vice versa. So I actually do that manually to swap over between live view on the LCD screen or through the viewfinder, but that's not much of a problem. So that's my main landscape camera, fully weatherproof, and I use that mainly with the zooms. Then my backup camera, which you would have seen me using in the last video when I was doing long exposures, is the EP5, the Pen EP5. So this is the one I use for long exposures, and as I explained in that video from last time, I use this because this handles noise better than the EM1 Mark I and even the EM1 Mark II. So I don't have to switch noise reduction on this camera to get a nice clean image. I can go up to around 4 minutes or more and get a nice clean image, whereas the EM1 Mark II, even though it's better now, you still only go up to about 2 minutes before you may get some noise kicking in. So I always have the noise reduction switched on, does that dark slide, gets rid of the noise that occurs when the sensor heats up and gives you a cleaner image. And that's all down to the autofocusing system. So the EP5 has contrast detection, autofocus, whereas the better EM1 Mark II has phase detection. And that seems to make a difference to how much noise you get on the sensor, unfortunately. So they have improved it with the Mark II, the amount of noise you get, but it's still not as clean an image as you get with the EP5. So this is the one I use. It makes my workflow a lot easier when doing long exposures. So I'm that's the camera I've got. This used to be my street camera, so I've kind of upgraded now. It's become a backup camera, but I still keep it for those long exposures. Now, the other thing you would have seen in that last video, that I was using my separate viewfinder. This is a VF4 viewfinder, separate viewfinder, especially for the EP5, because it doesn't have a built-in viewfinder. So I use that on this camera, and it allows me to do some viewing looking down, which I love being able to use on this camera. So I love that. I love being able to use that. And this viewfinder actually also works on my M1 Mark I. Now, I've had this camera for 5 or 6 years, and I only realized, or only found out last year, that this viewfinder works on this camera, and I haven't been using it on there. So this actually fits into the accessory shoe on top, and you can use that as a flip down or flip up viewfinder as well, and I love that. However, this isn't my main camera anymore. That's not my main landscape camera. The M1 Mark II is, and that doesn't take this viewfinder. So I'm slightly disappointed with that, especially as it has the flip out screen rather than the flip up screen. I don't have that easy flip up view down perspective, which I could have with this. So that is a shame. So I do love using that viewfinder on the EP5. So again, that's another reason to keep that camera for now, especially for the long exposures. So onto the new Pen F, the new one which I got in silver. I got the original one in black. I wanted an all black one, but as I'm getting a different camera or the same camera, so I don't get them confused in any way, the shots I'm doing, I thought I'd get this one in silver, which I love this colour and design of this one too. So I wanted two cameras because in the urban environment I often shoot with primes, and I kind of fall in love with shooting with primes again. So I shoot with the Pen F, and I was using the EP5 as a secondary camera, because when I use primes I prefer to shoot with two camera bodies. Because I'm using lenses I have to swap more often than I do with a zoom. It's easier to have two camera bodies, one with a wider lens, one with a more telephoto, so I'm not having to swap lenses so often. So it's an easy way to work, and it makes it as fun and as flexible to use as if I was using a zoom lens. However, the EP5 doesn't have one of the features which I love on the Pen F, which is the dedicated mono mode. So this takes black and white high contrast images only in JPEG, but it's a mode that I love. Even though I'm shooting JPEGs, I'm loving the results that I get for it. Mainly because that mode, or the images it produces in JPEG, is pretty much how I would process a raw image into black and white, that high contrast effect. So it's doing all the processing for me, giving me a JPEG as an image that I can use in most cases. If I needed a higher res from the raw, I can just process it myself. But being able to do that in camera, I love this camera. So if I wanted to use that mode, but it was on the other lens that I had on my other camera, which at the time was my EP5, I wouldn't be able to shoot in that mono mode. I'd have to swap the lenses over onto the Pen F. So I thought I'll buy another Pen F. So I've got two of the camera bodies, both shooting in that mono mode, both some of the updated models, and obviously these have the new 20 megapixel sensors. The EP5 along with the M1 Mark I still only have the old 16 megapixel sensor, which is fine, still a great sensor, but obviously it hasn't got quite as many megapixels as the new 20 megapixel sensor. So I kind of upgraded, made it easier for myself to work in the urban environment when shooting with primes, and so that's the reason I went for this new Pen F. Oh, and as you may know, if you also own a Pen F camera, this one also has the new flip out screen rather than the flip up screen. But when I'm shooting handheld, especially in the urban environment, it's actually an advantage to have that. I've got the screeny coming off here, might as well take that off. It's actually an advantage to have that, because doing low angle shots, especially in vertical, being able to do that low and have that flipping out screen makes the shooting so much easier. So I actually enjoy having the flip out screen when I'm hand holding, but I hate it when it's on the tripod. So that's my 5 cameras I've got now. I'm kind of upgrading, but I haven't sold the old ones, which is why I've got a collection of 5 cameras. I'm the same with my film cameras. I've got a whole collection over there, all doing different things, all for different purposes, and I love having them all. I love having a little display of film cameras. So even though these aren't on display, they're in a camera bag, they're all serving a purpose. I can't bring myself to sell any of them. So that's this video, and I hope it wasn't too boring for those of you that don't shoot Olympus, but provided a bit of an insight into my cameras for those of you that do. Oh, and whilst I'm talking about the new Pen F camera that I've bought that I use in the urban environment, let me just quickly plug the photography workshops that I run in cities all around the UK. So I run them in London, Birmingham, Newcastle, Liverpool and Manchester. And I also do one in York. So if you're looking to learn how to use these cameras or use any camera in the urban environment, if you've done the landscape workshops, these are an alternative. So you learn everything you need to learn in an urban environment, but will still apply to all the techniques you use in the landscape environment. Plus you'll be doing a workshop with me. So I think that's everything. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.